This is a Marketing for Learning podcast, the only podcast in the world that's guaranteed to increase your knowledge, skills, and capabilities when it comes to marketing for learning. Plus, there's a gratuitous amount of pineapples. You're welcome.
Hello, and welcome back to the Marketing for Learning podcast. I'm super excited because this week I have a very special guest on the podcast with me. This week I am joined by Sam Goodman. Sam is the L&D Manager for ITPEnergised. And Sam has actually only been in learning and development, corporate learning, for 2 years. But he's actually been in education for over 10 years. I met Sam on the L&D Disrupt podcast with How Now, and an episode we did together about getting buy-in for learning and development. And I really loved Sam's insights on how to boost engagement based on his experience with teaching. So I couldn't gatekeep that. I wanted to dig in a bit more than the 15-minute slot we had on that podcast. So I invited Sam to come and talk to me on the Marketing for Learning podcast. I absolutely loved recording this episode, and I really hope you guys find it as valuable as I did. So I'm going to stop babbling on now. Let's get stuck into the episode. Sam, hello. Thank you for joining us on the Marketing for Learning podcast. I think it'd be good for you to just introduce yourself because you've got quite an interesting history in the world of learning and development, haven't you?
Yeah, I like to think a bit unique, maybe.
I agree.
In some others, but I have found people have come from a teaching background. So I think if I go all the way back, my sort of staff development started about 14 years ago in outdoor education, where I ended up starting to train and develop new starters who came into the company. And sort of that was my first taste of teaching and training, and definitely got a grasp of helping people was something that my why. What did I want to get out of a career? And it was to do with helping people. And then from doing outdoor education, working with teachers a lot, decided, why don't I go back to university, spend at this point £12,000.
Yeah, no biggie.
So I went back and did a PGCE and went into primary education more than anything because very much I didn't think I had a specialism. Soon became quite disillusioned with primary education. So I sort of thought, right, let's step out your comfort zone, challenge yourself a bit more, and ended up going into secondary education.
Oh, wow.
Big background in sport, and I could teach science. So I went into taught science and PE. And best decision I ever made. The doors that opened to my development progression were amazing. I got my thrill of the why of helping people. It opened the doors for me to explore staff development, and very soon found myself supporting and mentoring and coaching new teachers that came in. Ended up going into middle management and working with the teaching and learning team. So staff development became sort of the forefront of my role alongside teaching. And then my wife decided to move back home to Glasgow and said, let's go. So I was like, okay, what do I do? And at this point, nearly 10 years in education in the schools, it was very much a fallout from COVID, big learning experience. So I decided to sort of explore different routes, and an opportunity for learning development came up and utilize my skill set from staff development. Big learning curve, but it's been very exciting so far. I still feel like I'm at the start of a journey, even though I've sort of brought a lot with me. And that's where I am at the moment.
I think we can both agree, and everyone listening to this will agree, that one of the biggest challenges we have in corporate learning is engagement, actually getting people to want to get involved with learning. But it was when we were both on the L&D Disrupt podcast with How Now a couple of weeks ago, you started talking about your career in education. And I thought, actually, what's worse than getting adults to do something they don't want to do? Getting children to do something they don't want to do. And you know what? Let's take that one step further. Getting those grumpy teenagers that you had in your secondary education to learn stuff that they don't want to do. So I thought you've got a really interesting kind of background on actually how the overall experience of learning gets people engaged.
Mhm.
And what have you picked up from your time in education, in staff training, back at your first job, that you've carried forward with you now as an L&D manager?
It was really interesting that after about 6 months, I noticed that there's not that much difference between a 13-year-old who doesn't want to learn about solids, liquids, and gases than an adult who wants to learn about the importance behind communication. And
I
it's
was that
funny.
13-year-old, by the way.
And it was very much I needed to tap into the way I taught. And my teaching was very much, I'm going to make it contextual. I'm
Hmm.
going to make you understand based on knowing you, why you need to know this. And I think that's huge for engagement.
Yeah.
And it all starts with being human, engaging in conversations and knowing who you're teaching, because then you can make it contextual and you can adapt it according to your audience. And I liken it to the fact I had a top set year eight class and a bottom set year eight class. Same lesson, but the way I taught it was completely different
Yeah.
because I made it contextual to them. And by making it contextual to them and what made them tick and understanding how they needed to learn, I got better engagement and better results from that. And I tested that every now and again because I would try something that was generic or with lack of planning and preparation. I just had to teach the generic lesson. And you could see a big correlation of this works when you actually spend time and adapt to just delivering something blanket. And it's
Hmm.
very similar to what I've experienced in the L&D sort of world, is that if you just deliver something that's blanket and just generic, people switch off. And I get that because I'm like that.
Yeah.
I think that's
Same.
just a human thing.
Yeah.
Whereas if someone tailors it to the fact that I like sport or I like music or at my age range in my late 30s, that this is why you're going to learn something, this is tailored to you, I'm going to be like, great, brilliant, tell me.
Yeah.
So I think that's something that I've had to bring back in. But the challenge from school into this world is that you've got a culture already for a company.
Yeah.
So you've got to sort of try and navigate that culture to get your learning methods and your essentially pedagogy to filter into that culture. And there are clashes sometimes, and there are doors and gates that and walls you have to break down and go, no, there's a reason behind this. It will work.
How have you done that? Given that in a classroom, you know David over there who's in
Mhm,
the top set and Katie over there that's in the bottom set. And you know that person one on one.
mhm,
You develop that relationship with them. You know what they're interested in.
mhm.
When you're working in an organization now, you don't know every individual employee. You don't know what they care about outside of work. So how do you translate that to the corporate environment?
I'm very fortunate that the size of the company I'm in at the moment is manageable enough that I can do that
Okay.
to an extent. So I've definitely been involved in a lot of conversations. I sit on some calls that or training that doesn't necessarily apply to me just to get to know people. And sometimes I did a piece on LinkedIn recently about the art of observing, taking a step back,
Yeah.
and sometimes just sitting on a call, webcam on or off, and just watching the room, watching how people respond, watching how people what their verbal and non-verbal cues are, getting for them to share whatever information or stories or backgrounds, you can learn so much.
Yeah.
And I've done mixture of that, but we've only got just over 100 people in the company.
Hmm.
So very, very fortunate. For a bigger sized company, yes, it's challenging, but I would still say it's so important that every opportunity you've got, converse. Whether
Absolutely.
that's 10 minutes, 5 minute call, the water cooler moment, whatever it might be, being sort of present, because just that little nugget of information can get buy-in and
Yeah.
shape it.
Yeah. And I think from our point of view, we work with organizations. So one of my key clients at the moment is Capgemini. They've got 340,000 employees. It is insane. But what we've done, we've kind of taken that mindset that you've got there and then applied it en masse. So I
Mhm.
spoke to, and I think it's in the region of probably 200 people. So a drop in the ocean compared to the amount of people in their organisation. But after the third or fourth call, you start noticing commonalities. And okay, it's not granular like, I know what you got up to at the weekend. I know what concert you're going to. I know what football team you support. But you start realizing commonality. So there was always people that were really into like their personal self-development, in the sense of like there was one guy that was a triathlete, but then there was also one guy that was really into chess. And he was like, I know this is a weird hobby in today's day and age, but I'm really into chess. So then I started grouping those people together and realizing, although they're expressing their hobbies and interests in different ways, they had a lot in common. And then we created personas out of them. And then we target the persona. So rather than talking to Ashley, who works at mass marketing, we're talking to a fictional representation that Ashley might relate to in some way. And we're kind of amplifying that personalized conversation. It's the same theory, the same practice of what you were doing in a classroom versus what you're doing now with 100 employees versus exactly what I did with Capgemini at 340,000 employees. And it works. It really
Mhm.
does work as soon as, and I like that way you were putting it of like making it contextual for the person, bringing it to their day-to-day lives. I think we're really bad at that in learning and
Mhm.
development. Historically, we're like, yeah, go and take this because we said so. And that's not good enough, is it? It's not going to get people actually moving.
Is when people turn around and say, I just can't capture them. I just can't get their attention. And it's like, but do you know what makes them tick?
Mm.
Do you know anything about them? And then when a lot of the responses are, no, or that I've written something down and I've circled it. I hate the word time.
So,
Hate it with a passion. I don't have time.
mhm.
Or I didn't have the time to do this. Or just t time's too tight. It's the go-to default for when you've not valued whatever needs to happen. And it's exactly the same when people are saying, I can't capture my audience. And it's like, well, have you taken the time to do this, this, and this? Because it's a one-stop shop in the sense of you don't have to have 15 conversations before delivering a training. It could just be one 10-minute
Yeah.
conversation to learn one little thing. And it's so undervalued. And
And I think as learning professionals, we all agree with that. I laughed when you said time. It comes up no matter what company I'm working with, no matter how big they are. When I talk to the end users, they always tell me I haven't got time to do learning. And all of us in L&D are like, yes, you do. You make time. You sit and watch Netflix. You sit and have long lunch breaks with your colleagues. Like people do have the time. I don't think often, and definitely not often enough, to L&D introspect and realize actually we kind of use the time excuse as well. Because when I talk to people about marketing for learning and the bit that comes before the actual promotion, they're like, oh, we don't have time for that. We just want to do a campaign. I don't have time for that. But it really is that they're not seeing the value and they're not
Mhm.
giving it the respect that it deserves and the transformation that's going to take. And it's the same as walking around a classroom and talking to people before you get stuck into the content. And that goes for a
Yeah.
training room or a classroom with children, doesn't it?
It's, I think what I've learned recently is that if I say I don't have time, I've got the self-awareness in my head to go, I'm making a decision to say that I've not got time because I don't value it or because I can't be bothered.
Yeah.
Whereas I think some people just default to sort of saying, I don't have the time, but they're the ones when you sort of look at other things, they don't go to workshops, they don't go to webinars, they don't engage with learning and development in general, or their responsibilities as a line manager. There's a whole sort of it matches up with everything that you've got.
Yeah.
And it's that self-awareness piece that I'm really sort of helping my colleagues get to is just tapping into that conscious awareness of I'm making this decision, but I'm okay with that, but I'm aware of it, rather
Yeah.
than people who just do it automatically and then just brush it under the carpet.
So what can we
The
do then if somebody makes the conscious decision that they don't want to do learning?
and I think this goes to something that was a problem of mine in teaching, and this comes up with all of the stuff that I have in when I do line manager self-reviews and stuff, is the difficult conversations, the challenging conversations. accountability. I'm a huge person for if someone's not doing something that they should be doing, why do we not hold people accountable? And it's because we're uncomfortable having those difficult conversations. But as we know from any training, generic training, and just listening to, I love Simon Sinek as an example of he saying that you have to embrace those difficult conversations because it does build relationships, it breaks down barriers, and all these positive things that come from it. So when I have to turn around to people and say they're not engaging this, they're not doing this, they're not doing this, they just go, oh, yeah, well, they don't have time. No, their responsibility is this. Why are you not telling them that?
Yeah.
I don't want
And
to
what's
upset
the
them.
real reason? What's the real reason they don't have the time? Because, like you said, time is often an excuse. So, what is it? Is it that they don't understand? I always use GDPR as an example, but any kind of data protection. People are like, I don't care. It annoys me. I see the cookie pop ups. It's a waste of time. But actually, if you contextualize that to actually, if you accidentally send out an email without blind copying everybody in, you could get in trouble. You could cost the business money. You could do all of these things. And actually, what we're trying to do is protect your safety here. Well, that's something I might make time for, not just something I want to click through.
I think what I've experienced is a lot of people don't see the why until it actually happens.
Mm-hmm.
So they don't, and this is what I found as a similarity between school, is that they don't realize what you were trying to do until 2, 3, 4, 5 years down the line where something happens or something goes wrong. And then they go, oh, now I can see why giving feedback was important.
Yeah.
And but it shouldn't, and this is where it's shaping the way you market. And I've learned a lot from you guys of the way I send out some resource or a webinar or a workshop, whatever it is, as an opportunity to get and I use a lot of questions because if they read that as a question directly to them, feel like that post is asking them the question, that they can go, oh yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, I really need to think about that. That they then might engage and get that buy-in. And then through the contents, make it contextual. And it shouldn't be a case of once I've made a mistake, oh, now I need to go and learn. It should be I can safeguard myself to stop that from happening in the first place. Or if it does happen, I've already learned it, I remember it, and I'll apply it.
Yeah.
And I have that with colleagues. I find people in sort of this world is that they don't realize what we're trying to do until there's adversity, and it shouldn't be the case.
No.
So it's like, how do I change that? And I'm still fighting. I don't have the answer to that.
Yeah. Well, we talk about that a lot because when people think about marketing for learning, they think a particular program and I need to promote it. And there's so much more to what we do. And there's so much before it as well. So understanding the audience, like you said, like that's the key thing to get an engagement is being human and understanding the people you're talking to. But also the brand and reputation, build that up, get people to realize, hey, that is a trusted team. If they're telling me to do something, it must be for a good reason. And we do have the baggage of pretty much everybody in the corporate world is like, oh, learning and development, oh, that's that boring e-learning course. I've spoken to so many people recently about the fact that we are a bit of a laughing stock on TikTok and things like that at the moment of people taking the mick about clicking fast really quickly for a course just to get to the end of it. We need to work to change that perception and develop ourselves as a brand. How can we show the business that we are a quality brand, that we are to be trusted? How can we build that trust? And that really does start with the individual as well. Like you said, having that human conversation with people, building those relationships. Then when somebody comes to you and says, oh, I really need a training course on X, you can be like, well, actually, a few weeks ago, you mentioned that this was your challenge. I actually think this is a better way to overcome it. And you're acting more of a trusted advisor rather than an order taker. It's all these little bits that help the reputation of the L&D brand. And unfortunately, even if you're in a brand new company or you're in a brand new L&D team, we've got baggage because we've had the last however many years of being the order takers, of being the compliance powerhouse, of being those boring e-learning courses. And I won't lie, before I fell into learning and development, I thought e-learning was boring and click next. And I remember being in my grad job, there was a health and safety course that went round. I can't believe I'm admitting this on this podcast. And one guy in our team did it and told the rest of us the answers. And we all clicked through, did the answers, done. I
Yeah.
didn't care, but nobody was contextualizing it for us. Nobody was making us
Mhm.
care. I didn't have, it sounds awful coming from me, but I didn't have respect for the L&D team. I just thought, oh, I don't really get what they're doing there. They tell me to do stuff and I don't have time. My job's more
Mhm.
important. We need to break down those barriers, no matter
Mhm.
how great we are and how great we know we are and what we can do. We need to convince other people that that's the case.
My mind's whirling with loads of stuff from that. And the one that's sitting at the front at the moment is that onboarding is a great example of, if you want to capture someone, of what you can do and what your L&D is about, you've got to capture them from the
Yeah.
first bit of training they're going to have, which is onboarding. So you can see why there's a lot of effort going into onboarding programs at the moment. The other one was, my other side of being human, especially in L&D, is admitting when you've made a mistake, or admitting you've gone wrong, or admitting something's not good enough. I can look at my first post on our internal comms and what it looked like to what it now looks like, and there's growth. Plain, very simple design to what it is now, because I've learned along the way. I've learned how to do
Mhm.
some stuff on Canva. I've learned how to do some better marketing from you guys, all these different things. But I can admit and go, it wasn't great. And just putting your hands up every now and again and admitting you've made a mistake. That's again similarity with school. We're
Yeah.
ingrained in us that make a mistake is a sign of weakness. It's not good enough, and it's failure. It's not. I remember it was actually back in my PGCE, in my training, our tutor was a math specialist. And in our um, seminar room, always remember this, she had a flow chart, and it was all about making mistakes. It's like, got a problem. Do I know the answer? Yes. Try it. Wrong. Go again. And it was a flow chart
Yeah.
basically saying, if you make a mistake, go back, try it again. And I took that into my very first classroom. And it's always stayed with me. And I've said it to students right at the start when they've ever come into my class. You are allowed to make mistakes because it's the way that you will learn.
Yeah.
However, if you make the same mistake a dozen times, I'm going to be questioning why you're still making the same mistake if I've given you opportunities to correct it. That's something different. But if you make a mistake once and correct it, great, because you've learned.
Yeah.
It's similar in this world, is that people are they're scared to put their hands up and say, I'm sorry, I did something wrong.
Made a mistake, yeah. And
And
that's a big thing in branding as well, with marketing and branding. And the example I actually give on our marketing masterclass is, I don't know if you remember this, and those of you that don't live in England probably wouldn't have ever seen it. When KFC ran out of chicken
yeah,
and they did the advert and they reconfigured KFC so it looked like another word, and they just said, we messed up. And before that, always loved a bit of KFC. But before that, never really thought of them as a brand. And it
Mhm.
gave them a personality. It made them human. I was like, the fact that a chicken shop ran out of chicken was hysterical and ridiculous at the same time. But it made them human to me. And I love that advert. And they could have just swept it under the carpet and, I don't know, released a new limited edition thing and went in all in with that. But they acknowledged that they did something wrong, that something
Yeah.
went a little bit, and they're just humans at the end of the day behind the brand, and they held their hands up, and it really works. It benefited their brand in the long run. And I think when we think of like the relationships we have outside of work, those people that never seem to do anything wrong, they're always perfect. We don't, as humans, we don't have the same relationship and connection with them. It's through our flaws that we build
Mhm.
those relationships, and we need to do that in learning too.
Yeah. And it's that you hit the nail on the head just at the end there. It's about the building of relationships. Because again, you admit that you're human, and KFC did that. And I wonder what their sales went after
Mm,
that side of things. And I look at to even just celebrities, they do something wrong. not on a huge scale, don't get me wrong, but
Yeah.
just say they do something wrong in an interview and they call someone Dave when in fact they're not, they're Jimmy or whatever. But just to say, I'm so sorry, because everyone can smell a bullshitter, and you can
Yeah.
tell when someone's just trying to cover up the cracks and trying, a bit of arrogance there as well, where if someone's just turned around and said, I'm so sorry, you can see the sincerity behind it. You're building relationships up, there's more chance that you're going to be able to do something in the future with them compared to someone who might never admit they're wrong.
Yeah.
And it's like the child in the class who throws the rubber at someone's head, and you go, why did you do that? I didn't do that. I've just watched you throw it. No, it wasn't me. I've just seen the rubber leave your hand and hit them in the head. It wasn't me. You really think
This
I'm
is
going to
from
have a positive?
experience, isn't it, Sam? You seem
Yeah.
very troubled
Oh,
about
there's
this.
loads of these. And it's like coming away from that going, do you think you're going to be able to build a positive relationship with a child who can lie so easily, or from someone to go, sorry, because
Yeah.
they can admit they've done wrong. And those similarities, okay, maybe not throwing things at people, but it's sort of the going, you know what, I should have held them accountable. You're completely right. I should have done that. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Next time I will have that conversation with them.
Or even as learning, Ash, the other half of maths, always says she would love to do a compliance campaign with a company that would let her say, compliance training is boring. We
Yeah.
know it. We've all got to do it. And it's almost that humility that comes with just being really honest and transparent. It drives engagement because people then go, oh,
Mhm.
aren't you so natural and human and lovely? And yeah, I get it. You've got that humor, that connected humor. It works. And I
Mhm.
think that's something that L&D could do a really good job at leveraging a bit more.
It's challenging the status quo. People don't like to be challenged. I heard a great piece on, I'm doing the skill sprint by the Squiggly Careers,
Love that.
and I
Love
love
those
it.
ones. Yeah.
And there was a line that came from one of the ladies. I can't remember which one it is, so I don't want to say who it was. And it was about familiarity breeds complacency. She got
Mm.
it from someone else, so this is like third hand.
Yeah.
As controversial as that is, I can see aspects of it. And if we're linking it to things like onboarding content and compliance training, it's a similar thing. I think sometimes the things where we lose people in L&D is that there are tick box exercises.
Yep.
You just need to do it.
Yep.
Compliance and onboarding for a lot of people, it's just a tick box exercise.
Yeah.
So why do we need to change it? We've had the same training for 10 years. It works. Go and speak to every single person who's just done that training over the past 10 years, do a rating out of five, one being awful, five being great. And let's see that I'm going to guess what the average number will be. And you're telling me that it's fine.
Yeah.
And that's a prime example of familiarity breeds complacency, because when
Absolutely.
you just think it works, it's not. And I think that's where we've got the opportunity in the right context to challenge the status quo. And that's where companies are great when they want that. Come in and challenge it. I was in a very fortunate position for this job that there wasn't an L&D function, and I've had sort of free reign to learn, make mistakes, build it, learn from other people. Magpie, I love that term of taking things and crediting people and going, I'm going to use that. It's great. And then building something up. And I think within the past 2 years, I've learned so much from that process of seeing what other people do well, seeing what other people don't do well, and making it my own. And I wouldn't, if someone said, have you got your own style? I'd say I'm 85% of the way there, because I've only done it in one setting with a very different context to what else is out there. But I know my core values that have come over the past 10 to 12 years within education of my why, and knowing my why, which is helping people be the best version of themselves and giving opportunity for people to do that. And that's really the key of trying to find companies to do that. But I still think there's a lot of companies that just see L&D as a tick box.
Absolutely.
We need to have them.
Yeah, there's two things there. The knowing your why and your why being connected to what you do. We talk a lot about marketing mindset, and one of the 10 C's of the marketing mindset is being connected. And that's about you as an individual being connected to the purpose. I've been a marketer for many years now. I have done my best marketing work at mass. And that's because I love what we do. I so believe in what we do. I am so invested in it, just like you are, where you say you just want to help people be better every day. That's your why, that's your purpose. And I think we also need to, again, I'm talking a lot in this session about L&D introspecting and thinking of themselves. we go, oh, we're seen as a compliance powerhouse. Oh, we're seen as a tick box. Oh, we're order takers. And then somebody comes over and goes, can you create this e-learning course? And we go, yeah, yeah, sure, sure. And we don't challenge. We don't push back. We don't have
Mm,
that drive to actually say, well, actually, is that the best solution? Why? Why do you want that? Is that going to work? Is that going to help our audience? Is it going to help people become better? Does it help make business improvement, improve the bottom line, that kind of thing? We can't just sit and moan about it and not proactively do anything to change it. And I think that's one of the biggest things that people are shocked when we talk about so much, because if you think of marketers and any marketer you've worked with, we are kind of, in the nicest way, really challenging, really curious, really annoying. We're always pushing back. We're saying why. We're asking questions. But that culture and mindset, if that came into L&D and L&D started doing it, I think we'd go really quickly from an order taker to, wow, these guys know what they're doing. Because we do know what we're doing. We just don't tell anyone. It's another similarity between marketing and learning. Everyone thinks they can do our jobs.
mhm,
Everyone thinks that they're a marketer because they've seen an advert once in their life. And the same goes for learning. Everyone thinks they can train. And actually, it's such a skill and it's such an art. And we need to make
mhm,
sure that we are confident enough to put our best foot forward and say, actually, hey, come to me. Let me help you. I'm not going to be
mhm,
able to do it all for you, but I can give you help and guidance. And I think with that, the reason why it's not happened more often is in L&D, typically, and I'm generalizing massively, and I think people listening to this will be like, that's not me, Han, shut up. A lot of L&Ders really like to be people pleasers. We like to make people happy. We want to be everyone's friends because we're lovely people. We wouldn't be in our jobs if we didn't
mhm,
care about people. Like, we're literally here to help other people grow and develop. We kind of have to take a step back a little bit from that and go, you know what? I know it's really annoying. I know everyone listening to this, and probably yourself as well, Sam. We've all been in organizations where the marketing team are like, no, that presentation's not on brand. No, that advert's not on brand. No, you can't put that out. You're using the wrong font. You're using the wrong colors. There's a reason for that, because the brand has so much equity, it has so
mhm,
much power. You don't understand the reason because you're not a branding expert or a marketer. The same goes with learning. It's why we don't have 15 bullet points on a slide. And I've seen that far too many times throughout my experience. There's a reason why we're the experts. So we need to be confident enough in pushing ourselves forward. And that's one of the
mhm.
differences I've seen with when I've trained marketers on how to be good at marketing and how to do it right. They're like, yeah, I'll go tell everyone no. I'll tell them they have to come through me first. And learning are like, oh, do we have to? I don't want to upset people.
Yeah.
And we kind of just need to be a bit more bolshy at times to say, hey, we're the experts here. Let me help you. I'm not trying to
Yeah.
make an enemy out of you. But actually, bottom line is it's training. If people are delivering bad training, that comes back to you.
You
They assume
reflection
it
of you.
comes from the L&D team. So it
Yeah.
damages your reputation, even if you've got nothing to do with it. So
Mhm,
we've got to take ownership of it and make sure that we're actually getting the right message across
mhm.
in the right way.
And this is why I was saying about practicing what you preach. We deliver opportunities or learning regarding these difficult conversations or communication and assertive communication. But do we do it ourselves?
Mm-hmm.
Probably not enough. And that's where that aspect of I'm not going to be a dick about it,
Yeah.
but training's not great, but let's work together in showing you where it went wrong and what we can do.
With that as well, though, you're engaging with another audience that we don't think about often in learning and
Mhm,
development. When we think about engagement and engaging our audiences, we think of, hate the word, but learners, the people
mhm,
that are taking the learning or consuming the learning. And we don't often think about all of these people on the periphery that we have to engage as well with learning. So what have you done? Obviously, you've come into this organization, first L&D team, first person to come in to do this. How have you engaged these people with actually, this is the way that it should be done?
Showcasing what I can do
Yeah.
and creating opportunities for that in different mediums. The one bit that's been really difficult for me is that because I'm on my own, everything learning development has my name attached to it.
Yeah.
And I think there are a handful of people who resent every time a communication comes out and sees my name from it, and they're going. So
Yeah.
I've learnt less is more.
Mm-hmm.
So I introduced like a learning development update. That learning development update started as a weekly update. Then I realized actually that might be too much, so it's a fortnightly. Now it's monthly. So I've learned and I've listened
Yeah.
to feedback as well. Any webinars, any resources, any articles, everything goes in that. And if you want to register for those articles, if it can be live on the hyperlinks in the L&D
Yep.
update, or it'll be on our internal comms, but I'm not going to send out constant notifications for that. The other side of it is listening to people of what their problems were and then starting and putting those little steps in place. So one of the big things that I've done, and I will take this forevermore, and again, similarity with school, people don't like inputting with the hands up or their name across. They don't like it because they're scared of what the impression of what they're going to give.
Yep.
So anonymous input. So one of the first things I had to do when I came into the company was a communication workshop. The director said, we need better communication all round, internal to external clients. Fine, not a problem. Used what I had, when I did a course as well to get some more information, built it out, and I went, right, what do I need here? Because I want people engaged. And that's when I used Miro. And I thought, brilliant, because what that did was very simply, it was just a whiteboard that allowed people to contribute interactively through sticky notes,
Yep.
no name attached to it. It was anonymous.
Yeah.
And it was amazing how many people inputted that would never input, even on a Teams call, because their name's still attached to it.
Yep.
So instantly they're going, oh, well, this is different. Oh, I've never done an interactive workshop before. I've only listened to a webinar and being spoken at. Okay. So then I was like, right, well, let's keep doing that. Let's create some infographics. Let's do
Yep.
something that people have got as a resource. Let's make it colorful, exciting. Let's try that. Oh, we've only had anything just by our template. This is interesting. And it's sort of just drip feeding the capabilities of what we've got and then opening people's eyes to what's available. I've started recently using Microsoft on Teams. They've got a webinar set up for a meeting.
Right.
And what that does is allows you to have a landing page to register with a load of information. It creates the ICS file as soon as you click register to go straight into your calendar.
Perfect.
And for people managing it, you can see who's attending, who's registered, and all these different things that make it, wow, this looks professional. Oh,
Yeah.
this looks really great. And it's like, yes,
Yeah.
because these are the capabilities of what we can do. It's just we've been plateauing and just flatlining for however long that you don't realize what's out there. Now, one thing I learned years back is that you're not going to capture everybody.
Mm-hmm.
I spent a lot of time and energy wasted speaking to the assistant head who sat next to me going, but producing this, you've said it's great. People have said it great. Why are these people not wanting to engage on what I'm doing? She's like, you're not going to get them.
Yeah.
She goes, it's just one of those things. You can try as hard as you can. They're just not going to do it because that's just the way they are. They've been teaching for 20 years. They just don't care. Don't waste your energy at the moment on that. Get the people who want to, get the people in the middle, get them, and you'll start to see those people slowly go, ooh, okay, maybe I do need to engage. And it's amazing how many pieces of upper hand I've had when people have been that person and I've gone, 80% of the people are doing this. You are one of the 20% who are not doing it. Come and look at this. And then, oh, okay. Bit of self-awareness of going, oh
Yeah.
God, I'm one of a few that aren't doing it. Okay, I better do it. Yeah.
We get those people, and then everybody else kind of gets FOMO. They want to get involved. They got
Yeah.
the fear of missing out.
I think the other thing that ties into this is we've got a bit of a responsibility of changing the expectations of what learning can be.
Mm-hmm.
And what I mean by that is that you get some people who go into an hour's workshop or an hour's webinar expecting to come away with an encyclopedia of information.
Yeah.
And when they don't, they're like, well, that was a waste of time. And the way I market at the beginning is it's sort of like the start of my sessions, the marketing is essentially I'll go, I just want you to take away at least just one thing. Because if
Yeah.
you've taken away one thing, within the next 45 minutes or an hour, that's one thing within an hour that you've learned, and it's something that's going to make you tick, something that you're going to take on that you didn't have an hour before. And actually, that's pretty decent because tomorrow you might not learn anything, and the day after you might not learn anything. So to take at least one learning piece away from an hour, that's pretty good going. If you take more than one, even better. And I'll always at the end get people to tangibly write down what they're going to do next, what they've learned, what they might challenge, something that they can, as like a contract, anonymously as well. And I think if we change those expectations, people might see learning in a different way. I think the expectations are all wrong. They
Yeah.
just want the world out of an hour, and it's not going to happen.
And I don't think it's just the mindset shift from our audiences. It's from the business as well.
Yeah.
Because I think they
Yeah.
often think that L&D is like a magic wand and you send
Mhm.
somebody on a 1 hour training course and they're never going to do anything wrong again. And that's just not how life works. We don't learn stuff instantly and know it inside out and back to front after an hour's workshop or even a 2 hour training session. Like,
Mhm.
it just doesn't happen in that way. So I think changing that narrative, and again, not to toot my own horn here, it comes back to marketing to the business. This is
Yeah.
what we're doing, and engaging the business, and marketing to the audience and engaging them with this is what you are going to get, and being really realistic.
Yeah.
I think what you just said there as well about making sure they're focusing on the one thing they can take away. It sets expectations. If you ordered something that told you it was going to change your life and then it delivered and fell apart the next day, you're not going to be happy.
Yeah.
So if we're setting expectations that, I don't know,
Mhm.
let's use AI as an example, because I think everyone's talking about it at the moment. I'm going to go to a 1 hour webinar and I'm going to be an AI expert. I'm going to be really disappointed at the end because I'm not going to be an AI expert after an hour. So setting that realistic expectation, not overselling stuff, making sure
Mhm.
people know what they are coming for, has a huge, huge impact in
Yeah.
engagement as well.
And it's that bit before the amount of times, and this is where I find sort of our industry really challenging, is because you'll get people who will market it and it's like a bit of lying. Oh, we're going to cover this, this, and this. And I'm sitting there after half an hour going, you've not even reached one of the 5 bullet points you're going to say. All you've done is tell me what your company does and tried to sell me your product. And that's where I'm like, I'm done. If you
Yeah,
can't sort of grasp my attention in the first 15 minutes of the bullet point that you said you're going to do, because that's why I'm coming, that's
yeah,
why I'm here. And if you don't, I'm off. And
yeah,
more recently, that's happened. And that's why I'm seeing good practice and bad practice and going, well, I'm definitely not going to do that. So if I say in my workshops, I'm going to cover this, I'm going to tell you I'm going to cover this. And guess what? Halfway through, I'm going to also reiterate that I said we were going to cover this.
yeah,
At the end, we're going to go back through the objectives and I'm going to say to you, well, we did this, we've covered that point. I've just told you about this, we've covered that point.
yeah.
And I think that sometimes, but again, for me, that comes through this personability aspect that I've got. And I think I can do that in a smaller company. I'm not saying you can't do that in a bigger company. It just needs that little bit more thought process to go into training and to your wherever you're delivering in order to grasp people, because that's where you're going to get people in.
Yeah. And I think what you said there is absolutely right. You've signed up based on those 5 bullet points, 3 bullet points, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That is telling you, as a facilitator, as a trainer, as a marketer running a webinar, that's telling you what the people care about. They're
Yeah.
literally telling you, oh, I've signed up for this webinar because you have said you're going to talk about this, and I am interested in that. So
Mhm.
doing exactly that, and I'm actually thinking I'm delivering training next week and I'm going to steal that idea. I'm going to go back to the learning objectives the whole way through the session. I think it will really work for this group. That's why I love this podcast. I learn how to do my job too. But doing that, saying, okay, so these are the 5 reasons we're here, we've ticked off number 1. You might get some people drop out if they only was there for that first bullet point, but you've got a captive audience. They're there for these reasons.
Mhm.
They've given you information about them, about what they care about. So use that to your advantage. Dig into it. And, I have to say, and it might be a bit of a controversial opinion for any vendors listening to this, I think the learning and development industry themselves are terrible at marketing. And I think that's half of our problem. So people in learning are being marketed to really badly at
Yeah.
work. So then how do we learn the best practice to then
Yeah.
go away and deliver it?
Mhm.
It's a bit of a never-ending loop that we don't really see best practice. And bless me and Ash are just two people trying to beat the drum of what good marketing should be. And there are phenomenal companies. I talked to Gary at How Now. Like I said, it's the reason we're here today because we were both on their podcast. How Now are really great at their marketing. And you see organizations like that doing it well, but because it's one organization, we're getting a lot of bad marketing thrown at us as well, with people making really quite obvious mistakes like that of not delivering on what they've said the webinar's going to be about and things like that. So it almost makes L&Ders think, oh, well, if they're doing it, I can.
Yeah. And that goes back to that saying of familiarity breeds complacency.
Yeah.
The other side of what you've just said there is regard to role modeling. If people at the top are not buying into you and just treating you as a tick box exercise, and they're not even sort of saying, oh, that's good, or I like that, and giving you the feedback, what's the point? You're just going to end up going into that sort of cesspit of just crap and just demotivation, actually not wanting to do something because it's falling on deaf ears. I loved some of the feedback I've had from when I changed the learning development update that I do to this sort of digital magazine format. I got a lovely message from our director saying, loving the new format, looks really good, well done.
And that's also another thing that I've spoken about a lot on the podcast. That looks great. Great quality. Well done. That person is then going to expect that the learning is great quality, good work, well done. We're setting the expectation. It's why we can't keep sending out stuff, and I do see organizations still do it, that looks like it's been designed on paint. Like, let's set the precedent that learning and development is valuable, it's important, we're putting the effort in, you're going to have a great experience. And every piece of communication should be falling into that as well.
Yeah. And I think that's where my other 15% is still missing. I want to find my brand. So as soon as I see a digital pineapple, I'm thinking of you guys and the color. And I know exactly as soon as I open LinkedIn and I see something, without even looking at the text, I instantly know it's from you guys. I don't think I found my style yet. And I'm still experimenting with that. And I'm in a position where I can do that, but I'm starting to get there. But at least I'm trying.
Yeah.
And I think this is where the similarity I found from education into here is that people just want to keep doing what they've always known because it's safe. But it's dull, it's boring, and there's people who are going to do it better than you. And you either jump on the boat and go with it, or you're just going to miss it completely. And I liken that to, look, tech is moving at a rate of knots.
Yeah.
You look at this, talking, Zoom, Teams, 2020, only just over 4 years ago, didn't exist.
Yeah, I remember my last company getting everyone on Zoom, and it was probably 2019. People are like, oh, why do we need this? Oh, I don't ever do video calls. I don't need that. Less than a year later, we were all living off of it. And now it's second nature to us all, isn't it? Oh, yeah, jump on a Zoom, done. We don't do phone calls anymore.
And it's when I've got people who don't even want to update Microsoft Outlook or update Teams or even explore AI in a fun way. It's like you're going to be left behind a lot quicker than back in the 90s where mobile phones first came out. We're not going to be like that. It's moving so quick. And you can see the people who are trying it. There are people at the other end, though, who are moving too quickly and they're missing out on stuff. And this is why I mentioned something recently, a bit controversial on AI fatigue. It's too much.
Yeah. I did a campaign with Capgemini. It was generative AI. They're using it a lot within their business. So it was how people can use it at work. And we had a whole persona that was just fatigued. Fatigue is the completely right word. They're bored of it. They're like, I've heard so much about it now, I'm done. We need to be aware of that kind of thing within our organizations. Because if it's not AI, it was, if we went back to 2018, it was GDPR. And as a marketer, I'm scarred from it. It's why I always use it as an example. It was everywhere and I was bored of it. If it's not AI, if it's not GDPR, if it's not whatever the buzz is today, there's going to be another one tomorrow. So we need to make sure that we are contextualizing. I love that you've said that right from the start of this session. Why does it matter to our audience and what is it we can do to contextualize it for them? Because they're not going to make that connection themselves. They're not going to put that time or energy into it. I could speak to you all day, Sam. Honestly, I think we've touched on every kind of area of engagement in learning that we could have. So thank you so much for joining me today. I've absolutely loved this chat. If people want to connect with you, is LinkedIn their best bet?
Best one. Yeah.
Brilliant. So Sam Goodman on LinkedIn. And hopefully we'll have you back on the podcast at some point in the future, Sam, because
Thank you.
your
Yeah.
insights have been wonderful. And like I said, I'm going to go and rewrite a training course I'm doing next week now. So thank you for the advice as well.
You're welcome. No, thank you very much for having me. I really enjoyed it.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for coming. So I hope you enjoyed that episode as much as I did. Sam has a really interesting way of looking at things, given his experience with teaching. And although, as Sam absolutely acknowledges, he works in a small organisation of 100 people, I think we can take a lot of advice, especially from that contextualisation piece. How are we making our learning offering relevant for our target audience? As I said in the episode, all comes back to personas for me. So I will link our personas guide in the show notes for you. And if you have any questions about engagement or creating personas, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I do love talking to you guys. And if not, I will see you on the next episode of the Marketing for Learning podcast. See you later, guys.